Imagine there is an invisible vault before you. Inside it are not only gold, silver, and material possessions, but also peace, joy, health, balanced relationships, and spiritual clarity. This vault is inaccessible to those who do not know the right keys, but the Bible reveals secret combinations that, when understood and applied, unlock the locks of scarcity and release the flow of abundance. Many people repeat verses mechanically, but without understanding the code they carry, they fail to experience transformation. Others believe that human effort alone is enough, and even working day and night they remain trapped in debts and worries. What differentiates those who prosper with lightness from those who live in constant struggle is the awareness of the source and the practical application of spiritual keys. Prosperity is not only about accumulating money, but about living in alignment with divine abundance that manifests in every area. When that happens, money becomes a natural consequence, not a desperate goal. The three verses we will explore function as spiritual keys. They not only speak of prosperity, but reveal the way God wants us to live. They are reminders that we don't need to carry the weight alone, nor trade peace for wealth. They are invitations to daily remember that strength comes from above, that true blessing brings no pain, and that faith in action attracts more than effort without direction. As you dive into these words, realize that it is not about memorizing phrases, but absorbing codes. Each part of this script will work as a turn in the combination of the spiritual vault. By the end, you will have not only knowledge, but also tools to transform your financial, emotional, and spiritual life. Deuteronomy 8:18 is the first key. But remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you the ability to produce wealth. This verse shows that prosperity is not the exclusive product of human effort. Yes, work is important, but how many people exhaust themselves without results? The text reveals that true strength, the energy to prosper, comes from God. Recognizing this is connecting to an inexhaustible source. It is like linking to a constant river of energy and opportunity. When someone forgets the source, they live drained, trying to open locked doors. When they remember, they receive direction and strategies. This key teaches us that prosperity is the result of a spiritual partnership. You do your part, but multiplication comes from above. Without this awareness, wealth slips away like water through the fingers. With it, work becomes fruitful, time expands, and the mind perceives previously invisible opportunities. Applying this key means starting the day by recognizing the source. Upon waking and declaring, "It is the Lord who gives me the ability to produce wealth," you align your mind and heart with the right energy. Gratitude becomes a spiritual technology. The farmer tills the soil, but it is God who sends sun and rain. In the same way, you do your part, but the harvest depends on divine breath. This posture attracts favor and opens unexpected doors. Repeating this verse is like turning the first number of the spiritual vault. Your mind stops believing it is alone in the struggle and starts perceiving signs, connections, and opportunities. When you feel discouraged, this verse restores courage. When bills seem bigger than your salary, it reminds you that there is a force beyond your own. Continuous practice creates a vibration of trust, and trust opens space for miracles that human effort cannot explain. The second key is in Proverbs 10:22. The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it. This is one of the most liberating phrases in the Bible. It shows that true prosperity does not generate anguish. How many reach wealth and lose peace, health, or relationships? That is not blessing, it is a golden prison. The key here is to understand that God's wealth is complete. It adds without subtracting, expands without suffocating, illuminates without burning. Declaring this verse is affirming, "I want to prosper, but only in a way that is clean and aligned with peace." This activates an internal radar that helps discern opportunities that look good but carry invisible chains. When the blessing is present, gains do not come with heaviness, but with lightness. Prosperity becomes synonymous with a balanced life. This key teaches us to refuse destructive shortcuts and seek opportunities that build up. When you apply this key, you discover that prosperity is not only about what comes into your account, but about what remains in your soul. The Lord's blessing does not charge emotional interest. It does not steal your sleep or destroy your family. On the contrary, it multiplies while preserving. This verse is like turning the second number of the spiritual vault. You affirm to the universe that you desire true abundance, the kind that does not sacrifice what is essential. This changes your frequency. Dishonest deals lose their attraction. Toxic relationships cease to be appealing. Discernment sharpens, and you perceive the value of each choice. When wealth is gained without pain, it lasts and multiplies. It is like planting a healthy tree that bears fruit for generations. Prospering without blessing is like planting in poisoned soil. It grows, but kills. Prospering with blessing is planting in fertile ground. It grows, sustains, and expands. The third key is in Matthew 6:33, "But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." This verse reveals the secret of priority. Many chase after possessions as if they were the final goal, but the order is reversed. Seek the kingdom first. This does not mean abandoning work, but placing God at the center. When the focus is on essence, the rest follows as consequence. This key shows us that prosperity should not be pursued, but attracted. Those who chase become exhausted. Those who seek the kingdom attract naturally. It is like tuning an antenna. When correctly aligned, the signal comes through clearly. Declaring this verse is choosing to trust divine order, knowing that everything else will align. This is the third combination of the vault, the one that completes the opening. Applying this key means living with purpose. When you seek the kingdom first, your decisions change. You choose businesses that honor values, relationships that strengthen, paths that build. Money becomes consequence, not obsession. This mindset removes weight and opens space for creativity and expansion. It is like walking knowing each step has already been prepared. The fear of loss diminishes, the anxiety of achievement weakens, and confidence grows. This posture attracts prosperity because it vibrates in alignment with universal order. God does not deny resources to those who first seek essence. On the contrary, he adds, "This is the final password that opens the vault." Whoever understands this verse never again looks at wealth as something distant, but as something that naturally accompanies them. Now that the three keys have been presented, imagine how they work together, remembering the source, desiring wealth without pain, and prioritizing the kingdom. This combination creates a continuous flow. It is like a perfect gear. When one tooth fits, the others turn in harmony. Without remembering the source, strength runs out. Without seeking wealth without pain, peace is lost. Without prioritizing the kingdom, meaning disappears. But when everything unites, life enters into balance. It is possible to work, prosper, live well, and still maintain peace. This is not theory, it is practice. Those who applied these verses testify of open doors, creative ideas, multiplied businesses, and restored relationships. Prosperity is not magic, but it is spiritual. You may ask, why even knowing these verses, do I still not live in abundance? The answer may lie in practice. Knowledge without action is like having the key and not turning it. It is necessary to apply daily. Declare, meditate, live. Prosperity does not manifest only with silent faith, but with faith in motion. When you pray, work, honor, and decide based on these codes, you activate the flow. If you have experienced something similar, comment your story, because sharing creates collective energy that inspires others. Your testimony may be the very key that opens the vault for someone else. This is the power of the living word. It multiplies when lived in community. Practicing the 3 verses is like always carrying the key in your pocket. On good days, they remind you that everything comes from God. On hard days, they remind you that blessing brings no pain. On uncertain days, they remind you that seeking the kingdom first is enough. This consistency creates emotional and spiritual stability. It is like walking on firm ground even when storms rage around. Prosperity is not the absence of challenges, but the ability to remain aligned in the midst of them. Each time you apply these verses, you open more space for abundance. The spiritual vault is not opened all at once, but with each conscious turn. In the end, what these 3 verses teach is that prosperity is a state of alignment, remembering the source, choosing wealth without pain, and seeking the kingdom first form the complete password. The spiritual vault of wealth is not in a distant bank, but within you, waiting to be accessed. When you live this truth, you realize you don't need to desperately chase anything. Things begin to come to you. This is the spiritual law of attraction in its purest form. Like, share, subscribe, and spread this message. The greatest lesson is simple. Wealth is not only about having, it is about being. And when you are, the universe responds by multiplying in every area of your life.